Good morning. We strike that gong 3 times, once in memory of those who have gone before us and gifted us with what we have today, and twice for those who are here today continuing to build upon the gift we've been given. And the 3rd gong is for those who will follow and continue all that has been begun here. The music was by Holly Near, Harbor Me. And welcome. I'm Lillian Fifield. I'm one of your kind of service leaders today. The other service leader you'll meet soon, and that is Larry High. But I'm here to tell you that we just want to say good morning on this Sunday morning, September 1st. We're just so happy to have you here. We know it's Labor Day. We know you could be out having a picnic. We know you could be doing lots of things, and you're here. We also know that a lot of you are here because this is home. This is a place where you can be at home, feel at home, and call it home. And we hope that you will continue with us to build that here. We especially welcome anyone who is visiting for the first time, and we hope that you will stay after so that we can get to know you a little better. And if you've been here a time or two before, thank you very much for coming back. And know that you're welcome, and we hope you'll become part of our family. Much appreciation goes to our staff. As always, Jake Tranter, our talented media person who helps put this whole thing together, and our greeters that change each time, but today it's Alan Mary Herring. And a get well to Sean Shea, who's a little under the weather, but helps us with our music. And of course, we can't overlook at all Genevieve Gonzalez, who kind of keeps this place running as our office manager and coordinator. So many thanks to all of them. And there are announcements in your order of service, but I need to elaborate on a couple of them. One of the announcements is from Sharon, and she's asking for a coordinator to put together a booth at the Pride Festival. My continuation of that announcement is that back on the chair, next or under the name tags, is a box and a bag, and it is full of decorations and t-shirts and hats for the Pride Festival. And I'm asking for somebody to help my knees out and take them downstairs, and hopefully, in knowing that there are things already together, it will spur someone to step up and want to be a coordinator and find out what that's about. When they go downstairs, they go into that most unused room with all the extra chairs. There's a white cabinet in there, and they go into that cabinet. Pride Festival is October 6th, and we've already paved the way. I have spoken with the coordinators. They know that we want to be there. There's no charge for us to come. We could, of course, make a donation, but mostly they would like to see our presence because our presence has been so visible in the last 2 Pride parades. And if you may remember, we had a wonderful booth at the last Pride Festival, and everything to put that booth up is available. So we hope someone will step up to coordinate that. My next announcement has to do with Sunday services. There's a sheet back there on the table, a couple of them left. It says that Sunday services needs your help. We need more people to do this, and more people to put together services. and more people to come up with the ideas for services, and more people to reach out to people to do the sermons. We are greatly understaffed. And if somebody gets ill, we have problems. It's a training process. Nobody's going to throw you in front of this mic until you're ready. And we hope that you will consider it. Okay. Some of you are probably already chalice lighters. Another announcement. I am currently your chalice lighter captain. One of these little goodies here on my name tag is for being the chalice lighter captain, and I'm needing to pass that job on. It's not hard work, it's actually fun, and chalice lighters are the folks that simply donate a little bit of money each year, $20, $50 max, and all that money from all the UUs gets pulled together, and out of that come grants that paid for all of our media equipment, grants that we still have money left over to do the build for the website, grants that have made possible open mic, and grants that will broaden our outreach exposure to the community. All the coordinator needs to do is respond to an email that you will get that says, it's time for the fall call. That's going to happen real soon because it's fall. So if you are willing, all you're going to do is work alongside with me and see how easy it is, okay? And our congregants, once they sign up, are so loyal. Now, there's a catch there, and this is why it's important. If we don't have X number of members of our congregation signed up as chalice lighters, we are not eligible for grants. So we have had, in the last 5-6 years, more than that number, and so we've gotten at least 4 different grants. So we need to keep that up, okay? Thank you for letting me take that time. You also have a flyer about a wonderful, amazing concert that's going to happen here, and I really urge you to attend. September 12th. If you're not familiar with Sacred Heart chanting music, it is beautiful. And the artist coming is incredibly well known. If you are YouTube comfortable, go listen. And the folks who are accompanying her, including Jeanette, well, they're extremely well known. She's on a number of artists' albums I know, including at Carnegie Hall as backup musician. So put it in your calendar and please do plan to come. And thank you for giving me the time to do all of those announcements. At this point in the service, we do what we call the fish collection. Collecting for fish is something that we do with a number of other churches in this community, and your donations of either food or cash help to support those who are in need, and always greatly appreciated whatever it is that you can contribute. Kathy, you want to help with one of those?
I really can't walk. I tweaked my back, so I'm not in good shape for that. I'm sorry.
My knees understand. Thank you so much for your contributions, and of course our church offertory comes later in the service. It's now that I'd like to welcome our live streaming audience to our service, and even more important, I'd like to invite Larry High to come up for the lighting of the chalice.
Good morning. The lighting of the chalice words this morning is by Eric Hepburn. Love remains the same. We light this flame to remind us love is the center. As we grow and connect, mature, and deepen, love remains the center. When we light the truth, it burns all else away. Life remains. Love remains. Our opening words today are by Dennis Merritt Jones. As it has been for thousands of years, the world today is fraught with angry people, and most of them do not know that fear is having its way with them. I don't see any children today, so we don't have to sing them down. Our next hymn is When Our Heart is in a Holy Place, number 1008.
When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we share the silence of sacred space, and the God of our heart stirs within, and we feel the power of each other's faith, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place.
Now, please, I'm going to take a second here. There is a van or a truck outside with flashing lights. I don't know if that's a mechanical problem. Is that yours? You might want to check that. That might cost you some trouble.
it is at this time in our service when we do candle lighting. Candles are lit as a special way of honoring either ourselves or someone else, the message that we carry, or something silent inside yourself. If you have a care or concern that you'd like to share or not share, we're here. If you'll join JC to my right and form a line, we ask that you come up one at a time and choose the microphone if you're doing a spoken candle, and if not, just take a candle.
in the land, giving life the shape of justice. Roots only close, rain set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Thank you. It's now time for our offering. The offering is a sacrament of the Free Church. We are supported by the voluntary generosity of all who join us. The offering will now be given and received in grateful appreciation of our shared hopes and values. For the gifts we have received, may we be truly grateful. May we be committed to using these gifts to make the difference in the world and to expand our beloved community. Let's now sing From You I Receive.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
I believe we are now having another musical, number 1012, When I Am Frightened.
When I am frightened, will you reassure me? When I'm uncertain,
It's my unique joy to introduce today's speaker, Donna Smith. I call her Reverend Donna. She is a Unity Worldwide Ministry spiritual leader whose training focused on pastoral care. She is most happy when she can help others find peace and joy in their lives. She is also a Unity chaplain, a Taizé prayer leader and a trainer, a Reiki master and practitioner, a nonviolent communication teacher, a student and teacher of A Course in Miracles, a teacher of the Way of Mastery, and is active in our Cares and Concerns ministry. Please welcome Donna Smith.
Thank you, Larry. Whoa, you're tall and I'm not. Good morning. Oh, my box. That's what it is. Excuse me a moment. Ah, that's better. Yes, good morning again. It's so nice to see all of you. I didn't even realize it was a holiday weekend. That's how I am. I'm up in the clouds most of the time. Thank you for that wonderful song today. I'm going to talk about fear, and we need each other to walk through these fears. So that was a wonderful song. Thank you for choosing that one. All right. Once upon a time, a big, gruff, tough, and battle-hardened samurai warrior went to see a little meek monk. "Monk," he barked in an angry voice, accustomed to instant obedience, "teach me about heaven and hell." The monk slowly looked up at the mighty warrior and replied with utter disdain, "Teach you about heaven and hell? I couldn't teach you about anything. Look at you. You're dumb, you're dirty, you smell bad. Your mother's probably as ugly as you. You're a disgrace, an embarrassment to the samurai class. Get out of my sight, I can't stand you." Well, the samurai got furious. As his anger grew, he shook and became red in the face, speechless as he trembled with rage. He drew his sword and prepared to slay the monk. Looking directly into the samurai's eyes with great compassion, the monk calmly said, "That's hell." The samurai froze in place, instantly realizing the compassion and wisdom of the monk, who had risked his life to show him hell. He dropped his sword and silently fell to his knees. Filled with appreciation and humility, he surrendered and collapsed into the monk's open and loving arms. The monk said softly, "And that's heaven." So the moral of the story, according to me, do not let your fears create a life of hell for you. I love that story. There are two main emotions, which I know we've all heard, fear and love. And those emotions create our lives from wherever we're coming from. If you're coming from fear, you're going to have a life of fear. If you're coming from love, of course, you're going to have a life of love. Now, I know you've probably already heard the samurai story, but lots of things need to be repeated, don't they? So we can really understand them. But I love this story because it shows us how we can move back and forth between love and fear very quickly. And I'm sure that you've all experienced that at some time in your life. It also shows that we can bring light to the darkness, but we cannot bring darkness to the light. The light is too strong. So the monk represents the light which emanates from love, and the samurai represents the darkness that one lives in when you are filled with fear. Now, fear is a very strong emotion. And as Dennis Jones reminds us, fear is having its way with a lot of people today, just as it has for generations. However, you notice that the monk, when faced with an angry samurai who could have impaled him with a sword just instantly, He kept his light, didn't he? He kept his grounding. He kept his conscious awareness in the face of what was threatening right in front of him. Now, even though fear is strong and can be powerful in creating our experiences in our lives, love's power is so much greater that it goes beyond our comprehension. And I want to just read this to you. I know I've read it to you before, but some things need repeating. This is from David Hawkins' book, Power versus Force. Although only 15% of the world's population is above the critical consciousness level of 200, the collective power of that 15% has the weight to counterbalance the negativity of the remaining 85% of the world's people. Were it not for these counterbalances, mankind would self-destruct out of the sheer mass of its unopposed negativity. The difference in power between a loving thought and a fearful thought is so enormous as to be beyond the capacity of the human imagination to easily comprehend. We can see from the analysis above, however, that even a few loving thoughts during the course of the day more than counterbalance all of our negative thoughts. All negative thoughts are based in fear. In Hawkins' map of consciousness, there are levels of consciousness ranging from 20 to 1,000, and they're calculated logarithmically. Levels below 200 are considered negative or based in fear, and those above are entering into neutrality and then on into love. And 1,000 is enlightenment. So we are beings of love, divine beings. So where does fear come from? Good question. The primal energy of fear has been the root cause of every war ever fought, every act of violence, selfishness, and greed visited upon humankind. It has caused more suffering than any other single thing. It is like it has a life of its own and has a mission to invade every aspect of our lives, rendering us helpless and alone and powerless. Everyone has at some time known this debilitating effects of fear. And we try to avoid it as much as possible, don't we? In the face of fear, we tend to forget everything and run, don't we? We think we can hide from it and we can outrun it. So we head for the medicine cabinet, we head for the liquor cabinet, the refrigerator, the shopping mall, or some other form of behavior that offers us a temporary reprieve, like an escape. And we have been doing this for millennia, running from fear. However, fear does not go away. Okay? In fact, it will surface again, and what happens usually is it is much more powerful and forceful when it comes back. So whatever energy you are sending out, it accumulates the same kind of energy as it goes out, and then it comes back to you. It always comes back to you, but it comes back amplified. So when you're sending out that fearful energy, it's going to come back to you amplified. If you're sending out loving energy, it's going to come back to you amplified. So what is fear? As Dennis Jones writes in his book, When Fear Speaks, Listen, he says, fear is an idea about something first birthed in the mind and instantly imbued in the body, skewed by a specific mental and emotional predisposition, perspective, and perception. No one can point to fear and say, there it is. However, we can point to the things out there that stimulate the invisible energy of fear, causing it to arise from within. It's like an early warning system alerting us to where to what is percolating in the mind before it boils over. And I think you all kind of know what that feels like, don't you? Yes. Well, in truth, fear does not exist until we breathe life into it. So what would have happened to the monk if he had succumbed to the fear of death? He would not have lived. So what is the basis of all this fear? Well, fear is a product of a thought that we are alone. Divine beings thinking we are separate from others and forgetting our oneness. It is a fear of separation from our authentic power. So we begin to feel this around age 7 when we finally realize we are separate from our mothers. And sometimes, depending on the child's circumstances, this can be very frightening. A Course in Miracles describes fear as the thought of separation from our source, and this thought of separation is called the ego. So fear and ego are one and the same. And we're all familiar with our egos, are we not? But it's only a thought. It may be easier to comprehend it this way. We are divine beings. Our souls are perfect. They always have been, they always will be. That thought that we're talking about is a thought like a dream. I do not know the origin of that thought. I have researched that for years. I have never found an explanation of why that thought ever occurred. But it did. So the thought occurred. It's like a dream. We're living in a dream world. And a lot of our ancient sages, avatars, our current spiritual leaders will tell you that this life is an illusion. Don't be afraid. Okay, do not be afraid of that. I do not know if it's an illusion or not, although I think it is, but it doesn't matter. Where our focus is, we do the very best we can. So if it's an illusion or not, just make it the best experience that you have ever had, and don't get caught up on whether or not it's an illusion. So just make it the best you can. There's only oneness. And so when in this dream, or not, whatever you want to believe is fine with me, we all have these relationships that are going to help us through this dream world and that thought of separation and bring us back to the thought of oneness. And we can do that in our physical bodies. We do not have to leave them to finally realize what oneness is. And we do not have to leave our bodies to let go of fear. So that's why I don't get hung up on whether it's an illusion or not. Okay? Just be willing to face whatever's in front of you. Now, every fear originates from the same place within. Where there is an attachment or a concern of death or loss that dominates our attention, and it reigns supreme as it has for generations. Now, it could be fear of your own death, fear of the death of others, but it also can be the death or the loss of a lifestyle, a relationship, a career, a bank account, possessions, reputation, or even health. Those are all fears of loss. All these issues contain a certain concern for the loss of power, our power. So instead of looking at fear as something that we must run from, what if we looked at those fears as messengers, something that we need to look at, something within us, and learn from them, face them, and then we can release them. So, why not change this acronym of fear from forget everything and run to face everything and rethink or rise? So how can we learn to use fear as a springboard to transcend its crippling energy, rather than succumb to it and just mindlessly let it have its way with us. Jones tells us that transcending our fears of every nature begins with 3 necessary requirements: curiosity, inquisitiveness, and being teachable. Curiosity. That's an open mind. Just open your mind and be willing to open that door to exploration. Inquisitiveness. Ask questions about your life. So many people come forward with all these generational beliefs. They may be, life-enhancing for you, but they may not be. But what we want to do here is ask the question. And the main question, is this my belief or is it somebody else's that I'm carrying forward, that I'm too afraid to let go of? You know that. Well, that's the way it's always been. That's just the way we do it. So being teachable means that you're willing to step out of that box, that very comfortable box that we all create for ourselves, and that's okay, but it also impedes our growth. So being teachable means to have an open mind, be willing to question everything, and then be willing to make changes and choices. So that's being teachable, he says. Now, in his book, he lists the 7 most prevalent messengers of fear: anger, worry, judgment, selfishness, shame, loneliness, and uncertainty. Let's take a very quick look at each one. The first messenger is anger and its descendants, rage and resentment. Rage violently surges outward, and resentment passively submerges inward. Will Rogers said, "People who fly into a rage always make a bad landing." Have you experienced that? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Greg Braden warned us that this poison, this anger, this poison, begins within us first and does the most damage within us first. And of course, it can go out and hurt others, but the main damage is at its source. So think about that. So what are the underlying causes? Okay, the underlying causes of all of these fears are this sense of loss of power and control, and the fear of death. Now, anger gets attention, and that leads to more control and power. You can see that in children. I think sometimes they get angry because they want more attention, more than anything. Have you ever noticed that in the word danger is the word anger? Yeah, and that's there for a reason, I think. So the second messenger is worry and its descendants of anxiety and regret. We have 60,000 thoughts a day. I don't know how they measure that. 60,000 thoughts a day. I tried to count them, but it didn't work. But 95% of them are negative. We worry about everything. What has happened in the past and what's going to happen in the future. I want to repeat again because I know you've heard me say this. Worrying is praying for what you don't want. Worrying is praying for what you don't want. Doesn't that make sense? Yes, because whatever we're thinking is what we're drawing to us. So if we're worrying about something not happening, guess what? We're bringing that to us. So, but that's because we're on autopilot most of the time. We're on autopilot. We are descendants, our parents, our grandparents, all of these people have done this, and we have just carried it forward on autopilot. And that's why we need to question what we're doing and become aware of what we're thinking, saying, and doing. What are you thinking, saying, and doing? And, it's so easy to create these scenarios in our minds. But one of the most wonderful ways to become more aware is envision yourself stepping out of your body, watching your body, and watch what you're doing, and say, why am I doing that? What does this mean? Does it make any sense? It's kind of becoming aware of your body. The third messenger is judgment and its descendants of superiority, inferiority, and hate. At the time, we felt separate from our mother and began to feel a sense of otherness. Then we also felt a loss of connection from our source of nurturing. And that's the same thing that the Course in Miracles is saying. The moment we thought we were separate from our source, we lost our source of nurturing. From all the things that we have learned and experienced from parents, teachers, peers, etc., most of us developed a sense of identity based on the quality of our experiences. Superiority is actually a sense of inadequacy. Inferiority is a sense of unworthiness. And hatred is seeing your guilt in others because you have projected your guilt upon them. So in judgment, we believe in right and wrong, good and bad. We make assumptions and we label almost everything from these attributes. However, when you are judging others, it is because you are seeing yourself in them. Otherwise, how would you recognize that? You wouldn't. So they are a reflection of your beliefs about yourself. No one is spurting out judgments of others understands that, and it is self-perpetuating. So there's a difference between judgment and discernment. Discernment is an observation or perception of what is without any evaluation. Judgment is evaluating. And it is putting labels on, determining whether it's good, right, bad, wrong. And most of the time, we don't even know all the circumstances involved. We're just doing it, again, on autopilot. The fourth messenger is selfishness and its descendants of greed, envy, and jealousy. And this is a belief in lack. Okay, because we believe there's not enough to go around and we've got to get it first before the other does. Obviously not a great sense of oneness in there, is there? No, it's separateness, and there's not enough, and I'm going to get it before anybody else does. That's a big fear. But the universe is a universe of abundance. It's a fear that is not supported by the universe, but it's definitely supported by the world. So we need to not look at the world and realize that, in truth, you are abundance. You are abundance itself. The fifth messenger, shame and its descendants of guilt and embarrassment and perfectionism. Perfectionism. I've spent a long time getting away from perfectionism. I'm getting better at it. I truly am. I will leave the dishes in the sink, go to bed, and have to get up and wash them. That's how bad it is sometimes. I'm getting better. All right, shame. All attempts to hide the feelings of not enough, that you're unlovable, a despicable human being, a sinner, unworthy of joy and abundance. All false, all untrue. All generational conditioning that has moved forward, and we need to, in this generation, say, no, that's it. We're not going to go there anymore. Now, fitting right here is also the sixth messenger, loneliness and its descendants of vulnerability and pride. Loneliness, a deep fear of loss, even death. Feeling unimportant. Nobody loves you. And you feel very lonely. And then that leads to depression and all kinds of other things. There's a difference between being lonely and alone. Alone is a very healthy, natural state. And what it means is you are okay with you. Yes. And you're also okay with others. Okay. The seventh messenger, uncertainty and its descendants, change, doubt, and procrastination. Uncertainty and change are scary, because it means that we probably will have to move out of our comfortable little box that we've built. And we all want to be in control of our lives and the future of our lives. But as Krishnamurti says, to know is ignorance, and not to know is the beginning of wisdom. In other words, we're leaving an open mind to the future. Okay, if we think we know about everything, we have really shut ourselves in. And most likely, we believe in something that's not even true. We're learning that big time in these days with our science advancements and everything. Things that we thought are just not. Even our history. A lot of our history now is challenged. It didn't happen that way. So, to know is ignorance, not to know is the beginning of wisdom. So the fear of loss is a concern. And the fearful mind looks at what's wrong rather than what's right. Does that ring a bell? Yeah, isn't it easier to look at it and say, well, I want this, that's not right. Instead of, wow, isn't this great, I have this. Yeah, so that's a change of choices when you're thinking about your things. Doubt manifests as a loss of faith in our ability to adjust and be discerning from our innate wisdom and intuition. And procrastination is running from the inevitable because of lack of faith within ourselves. As Jones writes, procrastination thrives on instant gratification by kicking the can down the road called tomorrow, fantasizing that conditions will be more favorable then. Dream on, he says. Yeah. So all of these messages of fear are here for a reason. They are catalysts to bring your attention to what's going on within you. So that fear is there to tell you, stop, ask yourself these questions. Why am I feeling this fear? And in my experience of life, every time I have stopped and faced a fear, it was not as big as I thought it was. The mind can just create these scenarios that are just all out of line. And we tend to make them huge when they're not huge. I learned how to get up on the roof of the first level of our house when we were building it and stand up and help lift the walls and everything. But it took me like 2 or 3 days, because the first 2 or 3 days I was stuck on the floor, afraid to stand up. My fear of heights. But I did it, with the help of my husband, of course. He was there. And if I had not done that, I would not have jumped out of that airplane 2 years ago. By the way, anniversary 2 years ago. I would not have done that because of the fear of heights. So you can overcome these things, and they have wonderful messages for us, things to look at. And so that's where that open mind comes, and that inquisitiveness comes, and that being teachable comes. Because when we finally look at our fears, and we realize, in fact, when you just look at them, they're not as big as you thought they were. And you go, oh, this isn't so bad. Okay, but then when you start looking at what is the message here, you learn a lot about yourself. And at that point is when you can say, all right, I'm going to keep this fear, or I'm going to let it go. And you, at that point, have the power to do it. Because you have faced it. You have not ran from it. That is what's important. Are you going to have fears? Yes. Of course we are. We're living in a world. However, when you understand this process, they're not going to debilitate you anymore. They're not going to run your life anymore. They're going to be something that is a messenger to help you. And at that point, then you grow and you learn, and you begin to step out of that box in joy, not in fear, because you know there's so much more ahead of you. So, I just got carried away. I don't even know where I am. So self-awareness, again, as I was saying, is very important here. And that's why I like to step outside of my body, envision yourself just stepping outside and watching what you're doing. Just question what you're doing. It's kind of a fun thing to do. And, it leads to your connection to your inner wisdom. We really need to be aware of our inner wisdom. And that means we pay attention to it. And so that helps. Now, it will also give you that courage to face these things in front of you, just like the monk did with the samurai. And as Jones writes, he says, the ability to think a thought or have a feeling, step outside of your mind and body, and impartially observe or analyze that thought or feeling lays the groundwork for a new life. It allows us to engage life at a more intentional level and play a conscious role in shaping and choosing our own destiny. It is then that we can use the powerful gift of discernment to either embrace or challenge the thoughts, beliefs, and ideas that pass so freely through our mind and hears without a second thought. Caveat here, your mind, there's a little roommate in your mind that is crazy and has all kinds of these thoughts. When you know that, then you have the ability to choose which ones you want to believe instead of letting it just run your life for you. I call mine Zelda. So I want to close with a quote from J. Krishnamurti. What is needed, rather than running away or controlling or suppressing or any other resistance, is understanding fear. That means watch it, learn about it, come into contact with it. We are to learn about fear, not how to escape it. Yeah, we are courageous beings. We do not have to escape anything because we have that innate power of love that brings light to any darkness in front of us. That's our power. So why don't we take a few moments of meditation? Get comfortable in your seats. Let's just close our eyes. Take those deep and refreshing breaths that gives your body permission to feel safe and loved. You are truly loved. I know there was a lot in this sermon today, a lot to think about, but it really only comes down to one thing, and that's a remembrance of who you are. You are a divine being of love. You are always connected through the oneness of consciousness. When we truly remember and feel that within our minds and our hearts, the light shines and the darkness cannot enter. Fear is a darkness. It is not real. When you are living from your higher consciousness of love, you are only attracting love into your heart, into your life. So when you look at all that is in front of you from the eyes of love and connection, you realize you are looking at yourself. It is then easy to love all that is in front of you. Every person, everything, because you see beyond their fear and you see their divinity. We did not come forth to suffer. We came forth to enjoy our relationships, to love each other, and to co-create as the source of all life creates. And with this as our intention, and giving it our attention, there's just no room for fear. But should it come up in your mind, see yourself step out of your body and look from your silent wisdom at that feeling of fear in your body. And from this true self, you know that you are always safe. Face it with courage and just ask it to reveal its message. And then be courageous enough to bless it as it fades away. Fear is what we learn. We are born in love. Just as we can't unthink a thought, you can't unlearn that which we have learned because it's information, it's experience, it's embedded in our mind. But we can think a new thought, a higher thought, linked to love and the remembrance of our oneness. So face everything and rethink. So let's take a deep breath. Bring our attention back into this room. Time for questions, or okay? All right.
So now's that period where if you'd like to make comments or a question, just raise your hand and let me know, and I'll be there.
Thank you, Donna. This was very thought-provoking and inspired me not only to think about how fear can be a message for us, but also inspired me to return to a book I read some time ago by Brené Brown called The Gift of Fear.
Yes.
Which has a little bit different take, but a lot of the same message that you talked about today.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Kathy. Yes.
I apologize for not actually looking directly at you. It's awfully strange. This pretty much only deals between you, Donna, and I. We've already discussed the whole dreamy time land thing. And again, I went there today as not only during your speech, your preaching, or as you were speaking, again through the quiet meditating time, and I was very, very gifted and learned through your sermon, and I appreciate that so much, so much. You are greatly gifted, and I'm so glad that you have Zelda, by the way.
Me too. Thank you, Tammy. It's good to see you again.
Thank you. Your talk kind of made me think about like being a kid and when I started feeling fear, and one of the things that popped into my mind was going to church. I think a lot of us learned fear in church, and I can remember that Adam and Eve story and getting thrown out of the garden And I'm a little kid, like thrown out of the garden. This is supposed to be a good God or whatever, and he's throwing these. And I just really thought about all the things in the beginning of my experience of going to church that involved fear, and that some Jesus or somebody else was going to be responsible for me letting go of that sin or that fear. And I think for people all over the world, that idea gets planted at a really early age.
It does, and that's why I was saying it is up to us to say, wait a minute, I'm going to do this differently now. I'm going to think about this differently. I truly believe that everybody at every moment is doing their best based on what they understand life is about, their experiences in life. And so there's no blaming here, but we can make different choices. We can have that new thought and create different lives and leave all of that behind us. Yeah. Thank you, Connie. Yeah.
Yesterday, I got all involved in getting ready for a sermon that I will give later this month. And I came up with a totally different idea than I'd ever had before, because, well, the only way I can say it, when you're a tiny child, baby, you don't have words. You don't even know what words mean, but you have feelings. And then other times you have anger, but you have words. Or, so as I look back through my life, I saw that different things were fear, were feeling, were words, were demands. It was all different stuff, and if you pull it all together at one time and look at it, so you can say, well, that feels like the end of life is right in front of me. Yeah, but you were only 9 months old. You couldn't even think in words at that point. So I realized that within my awareness of my own life, different things had different power because of who I was in that moment. And yes. I found it much easier then to move myself to a place of saying, oh, then let's learn about forgiveness. Mm-hmm. And so I won't say any more. Come back in 2 weeks.
I do want to say something about fear. I think there's some very physical fears that, yes, are real. I have a fear walking out in front of a tiger, a speeding car, things like that. Very legitimate in our physical bodies. The fear that I'm talking about is that fear that is not real, usually, but we make it into something else, and it controls our lives. It takes us from this present moment living to a future that we're afraid to live in. That's the fear we're talking about here. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, JC.
Well, again, speaking of what religion I was brought up to as Christianity, I do understand what being taught about the fear of not only of God punishing us for sinning, but also the fear of going, when you do something wrong, of the devil and hell, the burning and all that stuff. It took a while for me to realize this, much further after not being a Christian anymore, that who I was inside of me made, I was a perfectionist. And that's why, you know? And that just, yeah, so that's part of what you were talking about. I was like, oh, that's right. So it was that reason, but I'm not that way anymore.
Thank you, Tammy. Yeah, we just need to make our decisions to move on with our life, with our choices, without guilt, without blame, without shame. Those are all negative thoughts that are more destructive than you can ever imagine. So thank you very much, everyone. I think I got the cue. I got to sit down.
We have some music right now. And
You can be amazing, you can turn a phrase into a weapon or a drug. You can be the outcast or be the backlash of somebody's lack of love.
Or you can start speaking up. Nothing's gonna hurt you the way the words do when they settle beneath your skin.
Kept on the inside and no sunlight, sometimes the shadow wins. But I wonder what would happen if you say what you wanna say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I wanna see you be brave with what you wanna say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I wanna see you be brave. Just wanna see you. I just wanna see you. I just wanna see you. I wanna see you be brave. Just wanna see you. I just wanna see you. I just wanna see you. I wanna see you be brave.
Everybody's been there, everybody's been stared down by the enemy.
Falling for the fear and dancing, disappearing. Bow down to the mighty. Don't run, just stop holding your tongue. Maybe there's a way out of the cage where you live. Maybe one of these days you can let the light in. Show me how big your brave is. Say what you wanna say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I wanna see you be brave with what you wanna say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I wanna see you be brave.
And since your history of silence won't do you any good, did you think it would? Let your words be anything but empty. Why won't you tell them the truth?
Say what you wanna say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I wanna see you be brave with what you wanna say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I wanna see you be brave. Just wanna see you. I just wanna see you. Just wanna see you. I wanna see you be brave. Just wanna see you. I just wanna see you. Just wanna see you. I wanna see you be brave.
I want to see you be brave. Our closing words today are by Dennis Merritt Jones, and it goes like this. Metaphysically speaking, there is only one of us here. So when we can personally transcend the bondage of fear, the world becomes a better place for us all. We're now going to extinguish the chalice. The chalice extinguishing words are by Eric Hepburn. Love remains the center. We extinguish this flame to remind us love is the center. As we explore and rest, engage, and heal, love remains the center. When all we can see is cold ashes, love remains the center. As we end our service today in dealing with fear, let us leave here with love and the consciousness of love, knowing that a loving spirit is all that there is. There's no other power, no other presence, no other all-knowing intelligence. It's just this spirit of life. And it's in this spirit that we live, move, and have our being. Please join me in a circle of oneness and sing, Go Lift It Up.
Voice of